100 years later, Native Hawaiian activists were still protesting the overthrow of their nation in 1893. The debate over national sovereignty and lands continues today. The Hawaiian Queen Lili'uokalani protested the actions of the United States. I, Lili'uokalani, Queen of the Hawaiian Islands, on the 17th day of January, AD 1893, do hereby protest against the ratification of a certain treaty purporting to cede these islands to the territory and dominion of the United States. 4 Marine ships sailed into Honolulu Bay carrying Gatling guns, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and 2 cannons. The Queen watched anxiously from the balcony of Lili'uokalani Palace, worried about the fate of her kingdom. The palace was a beautiful, majestic landmark for the Hawaiian nation. This was a place where they had balls and meetings with the heads of state. All meetings and diplomatic efforts failed to save the kingdom. American special interests in Hawaii had decided it was time to end the monarchy. Until this time in history, Hawaii had been respected by international law as a sovereign nation, and the United States had agreed to several treaties. Over the last 200 years, the United States had grown from the East Coast to the West Coast. Imperialists believed that manifest destiny justified the annexation of Hawaii.
The American Anglos thought that they were God's people, that they were destined to have dominion over the land. And this is part of the American cultural fabric.
2 leading voices at the time were Captain Alfred T. Mann and Commodore Matthew C. Perry of the U.S. Navy. Alfred T. Mann wanted to make a fleet of ships to protect American business overseas and to build naval bases in the Caribbean, Hawaii, and other Pacific islands. The concept of social Darwinism was used to justify manifest destiny. This was the theory that white-skinned people were superior to dark-skinned people because they weren't considered civilized. Sugar barons also caused the overthrow. These missionary sons changed the Hawaiian economy. Diseases brought by the whites caused many deaths. Plantation owners imported boatloads of Chinese and other foreigners to work the fields.
The Japanese started coming in to work the plantation, but 60,000 came in one way. And America was afraid that Japan would take over Hawaii.
Hawaii twice negotiated the Reciprocity Treaty to limit tax on sugar and give the United States the right to use Pearl Harbor. The McKinley Tariff of 1890 ended the favorable sugar trade for Hawaii. Sugar prices soared. On January 13, 1893, Queen Lili'uokalani revoked the Bainut Constitution, appointed her own cabinet, and proclaimed a new constitution that restored the power of the native people. Plantation owners were then furious. Senator Dole immediately helped to form the Committee of Safety and the Provisional Government. In view of the existing critical circumstances in Honolulu, including an inadequate legal force, I request you to land the Marines and sailors from the ship under your command for the protection of the United States Legation and the United States Consulate, and to secure the safety of American life and property. They left their homes and families without protection when they went to wrest the power from the Hawaiian people. Not a home was fired, not a woman or child was disturbed, and these men knew it would be so when they left their homes. The Queen knew that diplomacy would not work with the provisional government, so she surrendered to the United States rather than the Committee of Safety. The first annexation attempt ended on November 13, 1893, when Lili'uokalani and U.S. Ambassador Albert Willis negotiated a compromise. The Queen agreed to pardon the traitors.
In order to save her people from being slaughtered, the Queen had signed over her rights for the Hawaiian Kingdom to the United States Marines.
This military demonstration upon the soil of Honolulu was of itself an act of war. President Cleveland, December 18, 1893. Congressman James H. Blount investigated the takeover and tried to restore the Queen's throne. The Queen made a formal protest about the treaty to the Secretary of State, where she said, "Because my people, about 40,000 in number, have in no way been consulted by those, 3,000 in number, who claim the right to destroy the independence of Hawaii, my people constitute 4/5 of the legally qualified voters of Hawaii." Meanwhile, the people of Hawaii were still protesting. In September of 1897, 21,000 signatures from the Hawaiian Patriotic League were presented in Washington. After the explosion of the Maine, the yellow journalist newspapers made the public frantic for war. Though McKinley didn't want war, the sinking of the Maine sparked a loud public reaction. McKinley didn't wish to appear weak, so on April 25, 1898, the U.S. declared war. The outcome of the war was the U.S. posted troops in Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. We need Hawaii just as much and a good deal more than we did California. It is manifest destiny. William A. McKinley. McKinley expansionists argued that the U.S. had a moral and God-given responsibility to improve other races. Opponents believed imperialism needed to be cured. In response, the Anti-Imperialist League was formed. Hawaii's fate would soon be sealed. Since the resolution only takes 51 votes of the U.S. Senate, they passed the Newlands Resolution and it was signed into law by President McKinley on July 7, 1898. The U.S. had its naval base in the Pacific. 44 years later, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor to expand their territory. The loss of Hawaiian sovereignty destroyed the cultural identity of Native people.
A date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Aloha means both farewell and greetings, and Hawaii bids farewell to 40 years of frustration and failure in attempts to win statehood, and joyously greets its new status as a full-fledged member of the Union, its 50th state.
While some celebrated the long-term consequences for the Hawaiian people for the loss of culture, language, and land rights. After the war, the total population increased dramatically, while the total native population remained stable. Native Hawaiians felt even greater pressure.
Our family had a piece of property, and because of the new government formed by, there were no Hawaiians in the government, formed by the missionary children and people from our businessmen, they wanted the property to grow sugarcane. They lost their land because they couldn't pay the tax.
The greedy people, they take, don't want to give back, don't want to share, don't even want to try to understand.
In the late 1970s, Hawaiian was re-established as an official language. Prior to that time, people were denied the right to speak their native tongue.
And they told us we couldn't speak our language. And if you did, I got punished several times.
In 1978, Native Hawaiians began to push for public education, home ownership, and public land use. The Office of Hawaiian Affairs was established by Constitution Convention to strengthen Native rights. The Apology Resolution formally acknowledged the annexation of Hawaii. It was signed by President Clinton on the 100th anniversary, November 23, 1993.
Just for a day, our king and queen would visit all these islands and saw everything. How would they feel about the changes of our lives?